So I bought these optical limit sensors for the 3D printer I've been redesigning. Guess what? First time plugging them in, started up the printer, everything came on as normal. They didn't work. Why? What happened? What went wrong? Is it me?
Idaho.
In order to incorporate optical limit sensors on this printer, I would have to reprint the existing Z-rod carriage so that there is an extrusion to block the light in the sensor as it is lowered. This seemed pretty straightforward, and I would actually only need to print 2 new parts. In order for the X-axis to home, the extrusion is located on the extruder mount and would hit the sensor located on the Y carriage. I installed this in episode 11, so go me for thinking ahead. For the Y-axis to home, I can't emphasize the importance of a well thought out design and the lack of thought on my end that actually went into the design here.
Who's retarded now? Yeah!
I'll admit it, the Y-axis was not very well done. But I had very limited room to mount the sensor, space conflicts with existing pieces, and the only option I could conceive was to get crazy with the idea, like with a K and superglue a printed rod from the Y carriage to go hit the light on the sensor. I bought a pack of the optical sensors from Amazon and the instructions were not included. What's a guy got to do to get these things working? Well, let me tell you. First thing to know that the wires that come from the sensor might not match up with the outputs of your board in the pins. So, to know, the optical sensors have 3 wires. The red wire is your VCC voltage, the black wire is your ground, and the white wire is going to be the signal. Also note this website says that the logic is normally open, but this could be all wrong due to the firmware that you have loaded on your controller. But this is just me foreshadowing my issues to come.
Right next to a huge steaming ball of foreshadowing.
The controller I'm using is the BigTreeTech SKR PRO, and the manual online has a great graphic for the pin output of the board. The area in the back is for your 6 limit switches. The pin output on the board has the signal and the VCC switched. So to fix this, we'll have to dismantle the sensor wires in connections. I know, sounds dramatic. So now we're going to install everything on our redesign. So before I was using these mechanical switches, and sure, it's a cheaper option, but you just know they're going to let you down. I had the metal contact fall off multiple times after extended usage, and I just found myself resoldering the wires that went to the switch because they would just get pulled off when my carriage would move. So no more. These were done. The optical sensors had no mechanical parts, and some even claim they're more accurate than the mechanical. Plus the wires have a hard terminal connection over solders, and not having to worry about them failing over time was a big advantage over those mechanical switches. So to install them on the Z-axis, I kind of showed you the idea of what we're going to do. I had to print 3 parts, one to hold the sensor, a new bed carriage with an extrusion so that when the bed was lowered, it would block the light in the switch, telling you it was at home. And since I was here, I went ahead and reprinted the Z carriage mount for the other side. The Y-axis got a little crazy. I only had a small limited space to actually mount the sensor to the frame, and with the carriage already installed and I ain't taking that apart, that left me super gluing the extrusion to the printed part. So how are you going to wire these sensors? As I mentioned, I had to attach separate ends to each wire. because the pins on my board did not match the configuration of the sensor output wires. So red had to be the voltage, the VCC, black was the ground wire, and the white is the signal. So the white wire would send a voltage back to the board if the optical light was blocked or closed. Remember, these are supposed to be normally open, so no voltage should be sent back to the board. I'm using the BigTreeTech SKR PRO V1.2, so the white signal had to connect to the farthest pin on the right, the black ground wire went in the middle, and the red wire, the voltage, goes on the left as shown. I also connected the terminals with a piece of electrical tape to keep everything in place and from moving. With all that electrical mumbo jumbo taken care of, it was time for action. And by action, I mean moving. Especially the first time turning on a printer. So I used the M119 sent to my printer to check the status of my printer's new optical sensors. And what do I find? They're triggered. So this just means the logic has been inverted in the firmware. It's pretty easy to fix. So as I showed you, if I block the sensor, the status comes back as open. To fix the logic of the end-stops, you need to go into the firmware. I'm using Marlin 2.0, and you need to find the section called Endstop Inverting. I had mine set to true, and I had to change this to false so that my sensors would read normally open. Then after I changed the line to false, I just had to recompile the firmware with no errors until you get the green success at the bottom of the screen, and you can take your firmware and reflash it onto your board with the corrected firmware. After I reflashed the board, these end-stops should not be triggered no more. Using the same M119 command, the status returns with all of these sensors reporting open. Just for fun, I went ahead and see if I could trigger them by blocking them with a piece of print. I determined they were working just fine. Now, I know most of you come here to watch me get results. Actually, I'm not sure why you guys come here. But before I can make the extruder move, I need to swap out one more piece from episode 11 that I said I was going to switch out. And that would be the belt holder. Don't worry, it will be like 10 seconds of this video and not just added on here because I needed this video to reach a certain amount of time. This was it. The moment of truth. The moment to test the end-stops.
He's doing it. Look at the little fella. He's doing it. There he goes. Go on, you're doing it.
You witnessed the milestone that this was today. After all the long hours, the printing, the sleepless nights led to this moment. My response now.
I don't care anymore. I'm joking. I never did.
Thank you all for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. If you had a laugh and enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Check out the links which are listed in the description below. I hope your prints turn out awesome, and I'll see you all in the next video.